Hello everybody, Dr. Crochet here with a tutorial on a ribbed hat, winter hat. First we're going to start with a 4-weight yarn, a 6mm hook, or a J, depending on what designation you follow. First we want to start with our slip knot. And then we're going to chain 57. $20. 30. 45. 50. 55, 56, and 57. This hat is done in all half double crochet. It starts out as a rectangle, and then we'll seam it together, and then we'll flip the brim up at the bottom. So it's a brimmed hat with ribbed. And it starts out as a rectangle. We're not working in rounds, we're working in rows. So we're going to yarn over, go into the third 1, 2, 3 from the hook, and do our half double crochet. And work that all the way across. And once you've gotten all the way across, come back and join me here, and I'll show you where we go from there. Okay, as you can see, we're back, and I have changed positions because of my back. I'm having a little trouble balancing my camera at the moment, so bear with me. Okay, I think I got it. As you can see, we're right here at the end of our row. We're just going to chain 1. And then turn to work. Yarn over. Go into that first stitch. In the back loop only. Now I'll show you that again. Yarn over and go into the back loop only. I don't know if you can see that on both sides. Back loop. pull, well, I just pulled it out. Back loop only. And you're going to pull through. And as you can see, you're on the back loops only, and it's creating a little ridge right here. And then you finish your half double. Go in, back loop only, and finish. Back loop only, and finish. This is what creates our ribs, is the back loop only. So it's creating this little ridge right here, which will be the rib. And you'll see that more when we're finished. Now, continue doing your back loop only all the way across. When you get to the end, chain one, turn, do the next row, back loop only all the way across until you get to row 36. That's row 36, 3-6. All right, hookers, just keep it going. Back loop only, remember, back loop only to create your ribs to row 36. And I'll meet you back here when you've finished up to row 36. Hello, and we're back. And here we are. I've got the last 5 or 6 stitches here to finish in the 36th row. Remember, last segment we talked about going to row 36. Here I am finishing up the last 6 stitches in row 36, and then I'll show you where we go from there. Okay. Now, do not cut and fasten off at this point. What you want to do is take your piece and lay it on a table or something. Come where you get both edges, the long edge and the short edge, lined up with each other. And then we're going to slip stitch all along the long edge to the other end. I'm going to do that with you here now. Okay, make sure that you go through both sides. So we're just going to quickly go through the first corner, pull through. Well, okay. And what you might want to do is what I do sometimes, which is put stitch markers in along your edge just every so often, just to keep it even. I'm going to do that now. We'll start with this first one here in the corner. This is just to keep the pieces flowing evenly together, so one doesn't become shorter than the other. My stitch markers here. And just pick a color that's going to stand out against what we're using here. I'm just going to take, and every so often, just put a stitch marker in through both pieces, just to hold it together so that while you're slip stitching, it doesn't pull one way or the other and become 1 inch shorter than the other, because that can happen. You have to be extremely careful. Okay. I think one more will do it. And what we'll do is we'll take these out as we go. just going to do a simple slip stitch in every stitch. So we're just going to go through both pieces, yarn over, pull all the way through, making sure you keep it even. Do every stitch going in, pulling, going in, and pulling through, and loop over, pull through, insert, yarn over, pull through, all the way through, insert, yarn over, pull through. Try not to lose your yarn like I do. I'm notorious for it. Insert, yarn over, pull through, insert, yarn over, pull through. Let's remove that first stitch marker that's just helping hold things together. Insert, yarn over, pull through, insert, yarn over, and pull through. You guys get the hang of it. I don't need to talk the entire time. Now this hat will be a nice ribbed hat. It'll have a brim. I'll show you how to cinch it up here in just a minute, as soon as we get all this slip stitching done here. It won't take but a second. We're going to need a yarn needle for that. And you can use one of your choice. It can be a, just a straight blunted, or it can be one of the curved tip ones. Just whatever you're comfortable with. I use both, doesn't matter. I don't really have a preference for one over the other. It's just whichever one I grab first. I also have very large ones for using chunkier yarns, like a jumbo 7 or a 6 or even a 5. Sometimes you got to use a needle with a bigger eye on it to get that chunky yarn. Remove that next stitch marker, put it in here, and we're just going to continue down the line. Now, sometimes you may notice that I'll start in with it and then I'll let it go. That's because it has snagged the thread in the center. And then to correct that, all you gotta do is let it go and start over with that stitch. Don't freak out. You just release it and start over with that stitch. It's not a big deal. Happens to everyone. Does not matter what kind of hook you use, it's still going to happen. Most of you know how I feel about hooks and buying those expensive ones that you pay for the name. I am not a Furls fan. I think they're overpriced for what you get. And I really think that, if I'm going to pay money for a good hook, and I'm going to pay good money for a hook like Furls, $33 a piece, or even their cheapest line, $16 a piece, I don't want the sucker to be snapping on me. You know, that's just not good. If you have a broken hook, you know, you get these cheapy steel ones from Amazon that I use, which are these ones right here. You know, they got nice little rubber handles on them, and I use them every day, literally every day. Never a problem. They've saved my hands from the arthritis, and I can crochet for hours with them. I did not have as good a luck with the furls that I borrowed, just to see if I would like them from a friend. She swears by furls. I think they're overpriced junk. You're paying for the name, just like with their yarn. You're paying for the name. Clover Armor, you're definitely paying for the name because there is no difference between what I'm using right now and a Clover Armor. Zero difference. Even holding them side by side, you can't tell. And Tulip Itimo, again, you're paying for the name there. You're paying for the Tulip name. And they don't have near as much cushion on them as these ones do. They got that last stitch marker there. And continue on. Just doing the old slip stitch. Now, if you have done this right, and you ended on row 36 like you should have, then after you have slip stitched it together, your rectangle, your starting tail and your cinching tail, which is essentially what this is going to be, your slip stitch tail that created your seam, will be at the same end if you've done it correctly. Now, this is how I finish it off. I go in to the very last stitch. Sometimes it's a bear to get through. Yarn over, pull through. Well, let's pull this out of the way here. And do that again. Okay, pull all the way through, and then just keep on pulling because you're going to fasten that down. But you want to give yourself a good end on this, a good length, about like this. That's about, well, we can shorten that up just a bit. It's about 8 inches, so it's going to be a total of 16 when you snip it off. I'll show you why. So make sure you snip the right end. Pull it out of there. Cinch it tight. And now what you should have is a tube You know, if you've sewn it together right, you've got a tube. And what we're going to do is we're now going to use this long end here to cinch the top. We're going to use a needle. As soon as I find it, it's here somewhere. What did I do with the needle? Oh, there it is. That's what I was telling you. I take a little ball of yarn and I keep the 3 I use most often. There's one for very large yarns. Here's the curved, and there's the straight. I'm just going to pull that curved one out of there because that's the one I want to use tonight. Just because I can. The first thing I like to do is take my starting tail and weave it in right quick so that it's not in my way. A lot of people tell you just weave over it after you cinch, and no. Things don't work that way. It doesn't work well that way. From trial and error, I tried doing that the first time. It did not work well. So basically what I do is I go down through this seam we've created, about 3 stitches worth. Pull that tail through there. Come back at a different angle. Pushing back through that seam. And then again, coming back at it from a different angle. Pushing it through there. And then snip that puppy off. And be done with it. You know, I prefer to use snips. These are snips. These are thread snips. That's what their actual name is. They're not little scissors or little tiny clippers. These are thread snips. They are specifically designed for the textile industry by Ginger out of Germany. I became quite familiar with them when I worked in the towel industry. We snipped a lot of threads in the towel industry. And they can get extremely close to the project. As you can see, you cannot tell where that tail was at. And they always have a thumb ring, or a finger ring actually, because how they go in your hand is you hold them in your hand like a fist, but the ring goes around your ring finger so that you have complete total control of them. They're extremely sharp. The good thing about Ginger snips, they can be sharpened by a scissor sharpener, so once they get dull, you don't have to throw them away like some of your cheaper scissors. This one I have a lanyard on because I like to hang it around my neck when I'm working, just so that it's always at my fingertips. Okay, now, taking your long piece, get pretty close to the end. It just makes it easier. Just trust me on this. Have about that much, maybe a little less, about that much. And then take your tube and just start working around the edge. I don't know if you'll be able to see this on here. You go in your first little hole, around that first post, come back through, pull it all the way through. Do not cinch yet. Just pull through lightly. Trust me on this. You may think, oh, why can't I just go ahead and cinch now? Because it's much easier to do it all at one time. Just go around, going in and out. It's technically called a tailor's stitch, by the way. Crochet, we call it a cinching stitch because that's what it's used for, cinching up hats mostly, other things. This is really super easy. I mean, and this whole pattern is a super easy pattern. Cheryl Bennett of 365 Crochet Knit 2.com has a similar pattern. Her pattern and my pattern are very similar. Hers is a chunky weight and less stitches than mine, but she goes by measurements instead of by rows on hers. I did row count, but you can do it by measurement if you want. You know, if you know you're making one for a 20-inch head, you probably don't want to use my particular pattern. You probably want to use a little less rows because this one's about for 23. Okay, we are coming up on our seam. We're going to just cinch right past it. Now that we've got that all sewed through, I don't know if you can see it on there, but now all I'm going to do is hold it and pull from here and you don't have to pull super tight. You know, you just want to make sure that for the most part the hole disappears. See, very little of a hole, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back with what's left here and I'm just going to sew it shut. Just a little modified whip stitch back and forth, just through the top loops. About 4 or 5 times, just enough to cinch up the hole completely closed so there's no air blowing through there when the wind blows. And it'll look like this. Then what you want to do is you want to take what you got left and weave it through once, back at a different angle. Oops, not enough there. Back at a different angle. And back again at yet a different angle, pushing through. Pull it. Your tail is now weaved in. It's not going to come undone, trust me. But if you're paranoid, next that you've done the vertical, do a horizontal. I gotta rethread my needle because I wasn't paying attention. And just do the same thing 3 times. Back and forth, going at different angles, slightly different angles, so that it catches different threads. So that you know it's not going to come out. Pull your tail through there and get as close as you possibly can and snip that puppy off. And there you have it. You've got a finished hat. It's a tube. Now turn it right side out because you're working on the wrong side right now. So all you're going to do is turn it over. And as you can see, you've got a beautifully cinched up hat. There's no hole. It looks very symmetrical. It's very nice looking. And then you just roll your bottom brim up. Make sure it's even. Roll it around just a little bit there to make sure that your seam is in the middle here, because you'll see a little bit of the seam on the brim here as it goes over. But if you put it right there, and people put that in the back of their head, they'll never see it. You can add a pom-pom to this if you want. I'm not adding a pom-pom to it. But as you can see, it's a nice little slouchy beanie. Put it on your head, as you can see, and I'll prop this up just a little bit so you can see what it looks like. See, it's got a nice little slouchy. It's okay if I put it on to show you, because everything gets washed before it goes to a customer. If this goes to a customer, this is going to a youth outreach program in Washington State for homeless youth. But that's all there is to a ribbed hat. Adjust this just a little bit and talk to you for a sec. That's all there is to a ribbed hat, winter hat for you. As you can see, it's pretty good size. You could even make the brim taller if you wanted to. You know, about like that. And the person can style it however they want to when they get ready to wear it. Being that it's made out of acrylic, this particular one, it's going to be very warm. I personally prefer a cotton blend, cotton polyester, cotton acrylic, because that's what I prefer to work with. That's what I prefer to wear. And I've got some in my inventory at www.drcrochetgifts.com that are cotton blends. But acrylics stay very warm in the wintertime, especially ones that are nice and tight like this. Instead of like a double crochet, which is going to be a little looser. Triple is going to be way too loose. Lacy stitches, they're pretty beanies when they're lacy like that, but they're not functional. This is a nice functional winter hat for someone who needs one. That's all I have for you in this tutorial, my happy hookers. This is Dr. Crochet signing off. Be safe, be healthy, be happy, and keep on hooking.